Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Shakshur Miritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gaurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadaraye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. We are continuing Vedanta Sutra, second chapter, refuting wrong philosophy. We've seen the materialist philosophy last time, and today we're going to begin with defeating Buddhism. So Buddhism, this is Hinayana Buddhism, first of all. Buddhism in general is a philosophy that is exclusively oriented towards the attempt to solve the problem of suffering and to attain ultimate eradication of suffering. You may know or not know the story of Buddha. I'm not going to narrate the story of the lifestyle of Buddha because I want to concentrate more on the philosophical aspect. And since I know you love philosophy, then I'm going to give you this. So in Buddhism, after Buddha, actually Siddhartha Gautama became Buddha, then he developed what we call the Four Noble Truths. There are four truths in Buddhism. It's very simple. Sarva dukkha, the first truth, everything is suffering. Even what we call pleasure ultimately brings suffering. It is not a pessimistic outlook on existence, because Krishna is also saying in Bhagavatam, dukkhalayam shashvatam, everything is full of suffering and temporary. And this is exactly what Buddhism is saying. Everything is temporary. So first truth, everything is suffering, birth is suffering, and disease is suffering, old age is suffering, death is suffering, and everything that is related to it. If I am with someone I don't like, I'm suffering. If I'm not with someone I like, I'm suffering. So there's suffering everywhere. So the second noble truth is Trishna. Not Krishna, but Trishna. Trishna means the thirst. Why are we suffering? Because the thirst to enjoy. We want to live, we want to enjoy, we want to have pleasure. Even the desire of death by suicide is also Trishna. We don't want suffering, so we want to kill ourselves, and this is also the cause of suffering. So, third noble truth. What do we want? The goal, nirvana. What is nirvana? This is a word that is nir, meaning without, va, the breathing, na. No. No more existence, no more of this which causes suffering. Of course, nirvana is a difficult concept to grasp. And even in Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna is using the word Brahma Nirvana. So it can also be used in a Vedic context. But we're not going to dwell on this, because first of all I want to still dwell on the Vedanta Sutra. Today I'm not going to read any sutra because it's going to be too complicated to see the link. I'm just going to say what the sutra are defeating. What are they against? So the third noble truth is nirvana. The fourth and last one is the path or sadhana, how to get there. They call it the Eightfold Path. Right view, right resolve, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right meditation, leading to nirvana. In Buddhism there are three main branches. What we call Hinayana, the small vehicle, and Mahayana, the great vehicle. This after a split between two main branches of Buddhism. We'll get back to it. The last one is Brajayana. This is Tibetan Buddhism. Braja means the thunderbolt. This is Tantric Buddhism. And in the Vedanta Sutra, 4 different schools of Buddhism are presented. Two belong to what we call realistic Buddhism, Vaibhashika, they also call Sarvastivadin, and Sutrantika. This is Hinayana Buddhism. And Mahayana Buddhism, Vedanta Sutra is speaking about Vijnanavada or Yogacara, meaning everything that we see is a projection of our mind. And Madhyamika Buddhism or Shunyavada. We know this word. Nirvishesha, Shunyavadi. Shunyavadi, Nirvishesha, Buddhist philosophy, Shankar philosophy, very close. Also Vijnanavada, how everything is in the mind. But let's go to the main doctrine of Buddhism. What is the main doctrine of Buddhism? The main doctrine is that there's karma, action, that leads to samsara, transmigration. Well, we have that too. But that there's something very special about Buddhism, is that there's action, but there's no agent. Nobody is the soul that is acting. And that is very strange. This is against the Upanishad, Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, what we call Vedanta. It has nothing to do with Vedanta. Buddha is teaching the doctrine of anatma, non-soul, or neratna. In Pali, because their books were written in Pali, they're called anatta. They say there's 5 skanda. They take this from Sankhya. Rupa means the shape, the body, the senses, the matter. Then you have sensation, perception, mental conception, and consciousness, or samskara, what is impressed in the mind. So everything about a human being is a combination of physical and mental states, but there's no soul. Buddha is saying in a famous sermon, Nesho amasmi, netam mama, namesha ata. This is not mine, Nesho amasmi. This perception, sensation, form, mental conception, samskara, this is not mine. I am not that. I am not netam mama. I am not form, sensation, perception, mental conception, and consciousness also. Namesho ata. This is not my atma. So some people are saying, actually Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, the historical Buddha, did not really say there is no soul. He hinted it, but he didn't say it exactly. The problem is that Buddha always refused to answer metaphysical questions. Who am I? Am I a soul? Is there a soul? Is there a God? Is there no God? Is the world real or not real? Is the world eternal or not eternal? What is a state in liberation? Can you describe what is liberation? Buddha always refused to answer those questions. He said, if someone shoots you an arrow and you're lying on the ground and someone is coming, a doctor or someone to come to help you, will you ask that person, who shot me? Is he a big man, fat man, tall man? What is his name? Where does he live? I want to know him. Before you take the arrow out of my body, I want to know who shot me. No, you first of all have to remove the arrow and get cured, get healed. And then afterwards, maybe you will inquire about who shot you and why. Similarly, said Buddha, when you are in this predicament of material existence, why are you wasting your time with metaphysical questions such as who am I, where am I? Is there something after liberation? First, you have to become liberated from this problem. It sounds like a wise saying, but then it created problems because Buddha never answered those questions. then the disciple, the grand disciple, great-grand disciple, they start wondering, how do we explain who transmigrates or what? You said there's no soul. We don't answer that question. There's no... So what or who transmigrate? Because in some sutra, the Buddha is saying, no, there's no soul. It's just a continuity of different material elements. So how are they going to explain this? Just like in Christianity, the problem about Jesus being God and being a human being was a big problem. And there were 6 councils. In like 300 years, there were 6 councils trying to define what is the nature of Jesus. And about the Trinity also. And they concluded by accepting some dogma and rejecting everybody who didn't agree. They were expelled from the church. They were called heretics. So similarly, the Buddhism has known 6 councils also. None of the 6 deal with the same subject, but they sometimes led to schism. Like they separated themselves because of this problem of the non-soul transmigrating. The first council, 483 BC, took place just after the departure of Buddha, what we call parinirvana, like when he's absorbed in nirvana. And it was under the king Ajatashatru, and was led by Mahakashyapa, one of the main disciples of Buddha. The council was mainly about preserving Buddha's teachings and the different rules for discipline. So it was in this assembly that they composed what they call the 3 baskets, 3 pitaka. They are 3, according to the Buddhist scripture, there are 3 main branches of this scripture. So the first one is called the discipline. They call it basket, something to put, the discipline. So Vinaya Pataka. It's a rule books for monks and nuns. Then the second basket or teaching of the Buddha is called Sutra Pitaka. Each of the subject matter of these books begin with the words, "Thus I have heard." It's a formula that was attributed to Ananda, one of the main disciples of Buddha. Buddha spoke to Ananda and he said, "Thus I have heard." He memorized all the sermons and he recited them during the council. This is called Sutra Pitaka, the words of Buddha. The teaching, direct teaching of Buddha. And the last one, Abhidharma Pitaka, it's some philosophical aspect. In that council also the leaders, the older monks of Buddhist monks said that many monks haven't attained nirvana, the stage of perfection, since they still have what we call wet dreams, nocturnal emission. Brahmachari may know what it is. Discharge of semen without having sex in their dreams. And so meaning they still had lust in their heart. It's a strange thing to hear that, this point was raised during the first council. Oh, they have, they are not Buddha. They are not like Buddha. They still have lust in their heart. So this was the first council. But the second council, 100 years later, resulted in the first schism in the Sangha, in the Buddhist Sangha, because they say Dharma, Buddha, Sangha, the 3 main aspects of Buddhism. There's this mantra, Buddha Sharanam Gacchami, Sangham Sharanam Gacchami, Dharma Sharanam Gacchami. I surrender to Buddha, I surrender to the Sangha, to the assembly, I surrender to the Dharma of the Buddha, of course the teaching of the Buddha. This is the monks, they recite this prayer. So in the second council, a group of reformists started to introduce some new set of rules, and then they were separated from the main conservative majority. And the third council in 250 BC, this was under Ashoka, the king Ashoka, and the main objective of that council, this is what is of interest to us, was to purify the Buddhist movement about certain practice and heresies, such as the belief in eternality. And it is this, at that time, that the Sarvastivadi and the Vibhajavadin, what the Sutra, the Vedanta Sutra is saying, Sutrantrika and the Sarvastivadin, they've split up. So I'm just going to come to this, just 1-2 minutes, just finishing. There was three more councils. The fourth council, 72 AD. At that time, the separation between the two main branches of Buddhism, Hinayana or Theravada, the Buddhists that we find in Sri Lanka and in Laos, Vietnam, Thailand, they dress in saffron. Those Buddhists called Hinayana, or they call themselves Theravada, and Mahayana was already acted. Then there's two last council in the modern age, one that took place in 1871 and the last one in 1954, just to commemorate 2,500 years of Buddhism. So we come back to the main issue, the separation between two branches that the Vedanta Sutra is speaking. Because there's transmigration, there's action, transmigration, but they say there's no soul. So how do we explain who transmigrate, or what, or in where? So they say we're a bunch of karma, and also they have this theory called Pratitya Samutpada. Pratitya Samutpada means it's an explanation, an expansion of the Skanda theory, and expansion also of the second noble truth, saying everything is Trishna. So they say it begins with avidya, ignorance. Avidya leads to samskara, impression, mental impression. That comes from yoga, avidya, samskara. Then vijnana is mental conception. Then sensation, vedana, thirst, trishna, thirst for enjoyment. Then comes attachment, and finally existence and birth and death, birth, and then again avidya. It's a cycle. It's not like first of all there's avidya, then there's and there. No, it's a cycle. It goes round and round. And so they say that actually it's a continuity of sensation, perception, mental conception, and everything. That is no soul. But as Ramanujacharya is pointing out, if ignorance, avidya, make us believe in the eternality of things around us, the soul included, but there's no individual who actually thinks like this, because that individual disappears, is always transformed, then who is the subject of mental impression? How can you get samskara if there is no soul? If there is no soul, there is no subject, everything is moving, and even samskara is one aspect of the pratitya samutpada, then how can there be any mental impressions? They should all be disappeared. And then on the karmic level, who is it that did sin? Why am I to suffer if I was not a person in the past that did bad action, but there was just a succession of events? Was it someone else that did those bad actions and I have to pay for them? It doesn't make sense. So therefore, the Sarvasti Vadin, they say Sarva, everything, Asti, exists. They say that actually time, past events, present, future, they are existing. They are temporary, but they are existing temporarily. And the Sutrantika are saying, no, this actually is even more subtle than this. Existence is only in the present, but an infinitesimal present called Kshana. Kshana is a time limit, the ultimate time limit, very, very, very small. Just like Paramanu means the atom, so there's a Kshana, And it is this kshana which migrates from one body to the other, which is totally unsound. It's totally unsound. We focus on the what of the experience, but not on the who. So there's a basic flaw in Buddhist philosophy, because they cannot explain why I have to suffer karma. If there is no soul, why do I have to suffer karma? And why do I care about what's going to happen next if I have no existence on my own? And who actually is liberated? In liberation, what or who is liberated? Because Buddha never answered those questions. He never answered this question. Once there was a very deep philosophical question, and Buddha picked up a flower and showed it. And they said Mahakashyapa understood this meaning. And this is the beginning of Zen. When you ask a question in Zen Buddhism, often you have some kind of a nonsense as an answer, or sometimes they slap you in the face, or they laugh, because they want to disconnect the mind. And that's the main thing. I think that the Buddhists are mistaking the mind for the soul. The mind is a temporary subject, always changing, but the soul is a permanent. And they are mistaking the two. We're going to come back to this explanation next time to summarize what Hinayana Buddhism is and what is the right Siddhanta that is proposed by Bhadaran Vedavyas in Vedanta Sutra. Thank you very much. Panchakalpa tarubhyacha kripasindu vyaivacha patitanam pavanabhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.